Okay. So we tried a new activity today. So first, let's give me some feedback. How did this help? Did it help? Yeah. Y'all like the activity? Okay. What did it do for you?
Someone you could talk to not too so like touch perspective.
Okay.
And get the full aspect of reality or maybe talk about like the hip hop
Okay. Good. All right. So it gave you some time to actually flush out some more and talk some more. Okay. Good. All right. Let's go to slide 1. Give me your key takeaways. What are your key takeaways from this article? Well, first, let's lighten this up a little bit. So when people think about white rappers, what do you think about? Usually Eminem, he's usually the first one that comes up, right?
I would say though, when it comes to like an Eminem or Macklemore type guy, a lot of times they needed a black person to vouch for them, like
Yes.
Dr. Dre, to give them authenticity. Because I was telling my group members that I learned from the readings that hip hop is like the culture of black people, African diaspora, black people all over, and that rap, beatboxing, b-boying, DJing, and graffiti, like you could be a white person doing those things, but it's not part of the overall hip hop culture, which is black people, social status in America, our voice in America, trying to cry out against the brutalities, the economics of the ghettos. It started in the 70s in the Bronx, and that a white person can't really relate to that. It's just not their culture, it's not how they grew up, and they can culturally appropriate it, but they can't really be the definition of what hip hop is.
So we all come to the table with preconceived notions about who's black and white, right? And therefore who has access to hip hop or who should be part of it in the first place. And therefore we have very specific expectations when certain folks do join the hip hop circle, right? Absolutely. And so to the point, right, we absolutely do see key black figures who have to vouch for white rappers when they're coming to the scene, especially early on, because of that contention about, do white people experience the things that we're talking about in hip hop? Some white people do, right? And the founding fathers of hip hop understood that, right? And that's why we talked early on about their definition of black being about the socioeconomic status, right? Everything that we are going through as a community. You're not going to be excluded from this platform if you are a white person just based off of that, right? The exclusion comes in with the authenticity piece. The authenticity piece is, have you experienced what we experienced? Or if you haven't, right, what are you using this platform for? Are you using it for our betterment, or are you using it just to be here, right? Yeah. And so we also have expectations of, the opposite of what we think is going to happen when white folks get into hip hop, right? So what are we afraid of? Sure, right? Having it co-opted and taken over and no credit given to black folks anymore, right? Right. There's a fear of it being taken away.
Take it away and then repackage it and put it back out to the greater world in a different message than what it originally intended. It's like the personalization of and you know, you gotta look a certain way, you gotta talk a certain way, like
Right.
they try to take especially Black AAE, African American English, the way we speak.
If you really look at the heart of what he was doing, he was really trying to be part of the community. And that's what we really look for, right? And kids are always going to be kids. Kids are going to be attached to the flashiest shit, right? Kids are going to want to know what is the popular thing. They want to follow the popular trends. And hip hop has been the popular trend, right? Hip hop has been the trendsetter. White kids don't live in a vacuum entirely. They're going to get pop culture too, right? So of course they want to be part of that. They also have more of the infrastructure. So if you look at like who is the primary consumer of hip hop, it's actually white middle class women, because they're the ones who are buying things for their kids, right? They have the household access to making sure that the kids are getting the things that they want, right? So when you look at the concerts and things, when they're reading about that, right? That's why it looks like that. That's why the concerts tend to be mostly white folks. They have the infrastructure to buy it, right? Exactly, right? Exactly. So in a way, it's almost like a tool we can use. If we bring folks into the platform and explain to them, like, these are the things that we need from you, and this is how you will get our support, right? We can see a whole lot of shift happen. So look at like the Post Malones of the world, right? Not the best rapper in the world. He doesn't even consider himself hip hop, but he's somehow part of the platform, right? But the messaging that he's putting out in some of the songs is critical. I mean, how many rappers are really talking about suicide awareness, right? That was huge when he was doing that. And when you look at the Logics, right? The super light-skinned, passable folks, right? The use of the platform is super important when he's talking about critical race issues, right? What that is going to do is expand the messages out that we need expanded out into the spaces where we never are, right? The tables that we don't get to sit at, where they do, man, we have a powerful tool if we're going to be willing to use it in that way, right? If we go back to the foundations and understand race in the way that the founding fathers understand race as a social aspect, right? Not just reduced to skin tone, because look around you. How many different skin tones in this one room are there versus how many quote unquote races? That by itself tells you can't just look at skin tone, right? So they understood that we have to look at the experiences, and then we have to look at how are we going to use this? How are we spreading information, right? How are we getting our messages across? How are we working towards our liberation by using this platform? So white kids, they don't exist in a monolith, right? They're part of our communities too. So of course they're gonna love hip hop. Why wouldn't they? It's dope, right? You ever seen a kid that don't like mac and cheese? Because it's delicious, right? Hip hop, mac and cheese of the music world. All right, so let's go to the first article. Well, to the article. Oh, y'all added pictures? Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Somebody take me through this first article. What did you pull out of it? What was important to you? Don't be shy now. Y'all wrote a whole lot. Tell me about this paradoxical position of the white rapper. What does paradoxical mean? You have the whole world of Google in front of you. You don't have to not know what it means.
Self-contradictory statement. It's like two things that can't be
Two things that can't be true?
true. Yeah, or something being true, but something else can't be true. Something else.
It's basically like a juxtaposition,
Yeah.
right? Two things that run simultaneously to each other, right? But paradoxical means that one of them has to kind of, or functions as a refutal of the other most of the time, right? So white rapper is something, is the paradox, right? So historically, we haven't looked at rappers as being able to be white. So it looks like a juxtaposition. Okay, so that's what the title is saying. All right, now what you pull out of the article?
I pulled out like I just pulled out like a main point of the idea.
Sure.
So this was specific to the paragraph. It says many scholars today argue that because of its roots, only African Americans can deliver hip hop music in a way that does the genre justice. Like no white rapper can really young party like Black Americans when rapping is like pop.
Okay. And what is that in relation to? Like, what is the thing that makes them not able to be part of that then?
I feel like it's I feel like
Is it the fact alone of them being white?
I don't know, because I feel like it ties back to like back then when they were treated bad. When,
Who is they? Be specific.
well, African, when they were adopting, back then, like back then. So I feel like it's more like how they treat them when they barely started, when they're like famous now, when they're actually doing good. They're
Okay.
trying to just, like, go with them.
Okay.
I feel like that's just like style for them.
Okay. Cool. Go ahead. You want to add?
I was gonna say to add on to what he says, probably like this whole type of switch up that they did like back then. You said, oh, this music is not traditional to what it was in the past. But then, like, as hip hop became more popularized throughout the whole globe, they're like, okay, actually, I fuck with this. Like, look, can I try it too? And it's like it's a type of disrespect, like an indirect disrespect that they don't even know that it's disrespect. And then I guess that it just creates this whole mindset where like no, don't try it. Don't you like you didn't like this in the past and now you get like you want to because they want to be part of this, but you don't respect the culture of it.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Anybody want to add on?
Yeah, so like kind of what I got from articles is that it's hard for like a white rapper to like make it big in the game at the approval of like the Black community is the Black community is like is where hip hop originated from. And if I guess if someone could do
Like now when you make like songs with Fabio Foreign, Arnold Wig, it's kind of weird when you have a person like him because people mostly know him now for like songs today with Justin Bieber because it's like pop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of odd to see him in these type of different genres. But for me, I think it's pretty cool because he's able to switch up his flow in like in these different genres.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like to a lot of people, as this on this topic, it's kind of odd, and that's why a lot of people find it controversial because they make it seem like oh he's an industry because we just hear
That
this and
authenticity piece.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right. So the social trends of the time impact music, right? So you think about when Vanilla Ice was popular. Vanilla Ice was popular during the time of one-hit wonders. There was no expectation of anybody getting real popular and staying real popular and continuing to make a whole lot of music. So he was an easy, safe bet, right? Ice Ice Baby is a classic to this day, right? It's a party song. It's a fun song. It was never made to be something serious, right? So of course, like it leaves a little bit of a bad taste in folks' mouths when they're like, well, at this point, hip hop is still something serious though, right? So to kind of see it get, played, like there was definitely a lot of social contention around that. And so that's why like the Black community took a long time to really accept Vanilla Ice. And it wasn't really until he started, using his space to advocate for Black people and Black rights, which was, I mean, he's okay. He's got work to do, right? Most of us do, but he's got work to do. But now, right, we're out of that one hit wonder phase. So when folks are getting up and using these platforms, it becomes much more, we take on much more of a critical eye, right? So yeah, it's cool to see somebody being able to go through different genres, but then also who does that push out, right? That makes us a little bit wary about other folks being in here. So like Nicki Minaj, for example, being shunned at the Grammys, right? In place of other folks. Who else? I don't know. I can't think of anybody else right now. White kids don't live in a complete social vacuum either, right? So think about that. When we popularize something in social media, whatever form social media is taking in that day and age, whether it's word of mouth on the street or Facebook and Instagram, right? TikTok, all of these different platforms that we have, whether it's your affinity centers, right? Those are social spaces, right? Everyone is always going to be a product of their environment. Whatever is being pumped into that environment, you don't have an option but to really be impacted by it in some way, shape, or form, right? When you turn on the radio, how many songs have you learned by just listening to the radio and not actually trying to learn that song, right? White kids are doing the same thing. The difference becomes middle class, or what has been perceived as over the last or like 20-ish years, right? Middle class white women have been the ones who are primarily holding on to the infrastructure of hip hop because they are the ones who are paying for the music, for the concerts, for their kids, right? Their kids not living in this entire social vacuum. They're enjoying this genre. So what do? They go to concerts, they go to festivals, they do all these different things, right? But somebody's got to fund that. So we see the rise of a few white rappers here and there, right? Especially like the late 90s towards like the mid 2000s. We start to see just a couple of folks start to pop up. But white folk are outraged by them, right? White folk hated Eminem when he first came to the scene, right? He talked about it in his songs all the time. Other white people hated him. Why? Why would they hate Eminem? Yeah, how can you be misrepresenting white people as a white person? Go ahead, you wanna add?
Attitude, like the way was that people.
What about it?
He was just very aggressive. He had like this stuff like a bad apple. He would like he's the type to like not care in a way, so he doesn't really care what he says what he wants. Like I guess it just makes it like this like, so you shouldn't say, like be this interpretation of what we are. Like, but he says, I don't care, I'm gonna say what I want to say. And it's kind of like this type of rebellion that he has shows him really unique, but they see it as a big representation of them. But it was like a unique aspect.
He was acting too black for white people's good, right? By being too honest, by being too real, that made white people upset. They're like, no, we can't look like the Negroes. That's exactly what happened. That's why white people hated Eminem so much. Because why else would you're okay with sending your kids to the concerts of Black folks who are saying the same exact things, right? But just usually about their own community, because that's what the industry will pay for. But as soon as Eminem comes and does it about your community, it's a problem. The proximity to Blackness got way too close for white people's comfort. That's why they like Vanilla Ice as well, right? His rap it's not, making white people really look bad. It's not saying anything negative about white people necessarily, right? It's just for fun. Eminem was not just for fun anymore. That was too real. You wanted to add to that?
I was gonna say that's why he did really like the music awards, the role in those like that's why he really shocked me when he won which song like he won an award for one of the songs and he was mad about it. He didn't want to win it.
Yeah, when he was saying that he had to sit next to Christina Aguilera
Yeah.
and Carson Daly and Fred Durst, right? All the other folks who were popular white folks at the time who were going to be at these award shows, but in different genres. So they were all very, loved and accepted by white folks. Christina Aguilera being a person of color, but that proximity to whiteness, they loved her so much. Yeah. So white kids love hip hop, but white parents love specific types of hip hop.